Well, hello there, YouTubers! This is Xenon Cross here, and well, this time you might notice some changes. First off, you'll notice that I actually have a heck of a lot of tools already starting off. Second, you'll notice that my hand isn't actually the same as it used to be if you actually care. If you haven't watched any of my previous videos, well then, I guess you wouldn't notice the change, but I did change my skin. My skin is now this, for now, because I like change in every so many months. I guess I'll just change my skin until I find one that is absolutely perfect and I must have. But for now, this skin will do me just fine. It was actually a joke for my friends, and, well, I got used to it, so now it's stuck. Anyway, continuing with the changes, you'll notice that there is actually this giant building over here. There's actually a part of it you can't see just yet. If I walk a bit closer, there they are. So, you probably wondering, dude, what are you doing? Well, this is going to be just a bit different than any of my other Let's Plays, I guess. It's basically going to be showing you guys how to pretty much achieve God tier in Minecraft, using very specific sets of mods that are basically core to the essentials of being God tier in Minecraft. So, obviously, this is all vanilla, actually. I mean, not vanilla, actually all done legitimately. It's not cheated. I built this building with my own hands. That blood altar is all done by me. This is all done by me. I built this general area. You can actually see the general area here on Journey Map. I guess we can start here, Journey Map. Yeah, if you can scroll in now, you've pretty much already achieved the maximum potential of that mod, by the way. There's not much really you can do with it. We're also using the quote-unquote unlimited version, so you'll notice that I'm on a server, actually, and I can see mobs and stuff and go into cave mode. That's because we're using the unlimited version because I'm playing with my friends on this server, rather than, giving us the crappy limited version and let us just use cave mode. It's not that big of a deal. So, I guess we can pick a mod and just start off. So first we have our house, which is completely built using chisel blocks. Chisel isn't a mod that you have to master or anything. It has everything to do with your building potential. You basically build yourself a chisel and off you go. I love the hex plating, and then we have all this stuff. And then obviously you have the blood magic altar over there. We have some Twilight Forest stuff. And we got some nether going on over here. So the first mod that we're really going to explore is thermal expansion, and thermal foundation and thermal dynamics, because they're all part of the same set of stuff. And the reason is because that's truly how you reach God tier using technology. We'll talk about God tier in Magic a bit later because it's a lot harder to do, and if you don't have technology, it makes it really hard. So first, obviously, you have, I have a sheep farm for wool. You have, your rancher, which is a thing from Mindfactory Reloaded, which is made by the same people as Thermal Expansion, as far as I remember. And here's basically a really powerful thermal expansion block called the Tesseract. I will show you that again later. We actually have another Tesseract over here with some solar panels from a different mod, Solar Flux, which I guess we'll talk about a little bit later as well, because they're pretty high tier stuff, and cryo-stabilized flux ducts. There is a monster chasing me. It is now dead. Yeah. So, moving inside, we'll begin to talk about thermal expansion. Alright, cat, you're not allowed to scratch the wall. Sorry, cats. Yes, as you can see here, my house is very decked out. So let's actually sleep to make that rain go away, because that's slightly annoying. Boop. Alright. So, obviously, I'm a little advanced beyond where you start, so we're going to actually just do some things. The first thing you want to do is basically have NEI, because NEI will really assist you. Otherwise, have fun memorizing these, I guess. So we're looking at we're looking at thermal foundation. This is the basis for the mods. It basically adds all of your ores. So basically, ore spawn will be populated with your copper, your tin, your silver, your lead, ferrous, shiny, and mana-infused ore. As far as I know, mana-infused ore does nothing, so it's kind of a waste. Right now, it's a replacement for mithril, which is also useless, so I'm not 100% sure why it even exists. It's stupid. So basically, you want to mine a lot of these to start out, copper and tin. Now, I am basically mass producing these things, so like, I have lots of tin, I have lots of stuff. That's so that I can help show you how to actually do these things. So to basically get started with thermal foundation is you have to go mining, which sucks for a lot of the early game machine based things because it's just the way they are. You have to go mining. So the first thing you want to build is from thermal expansion, which is pretty much required to use thermal expansion. Is why it's called that. You basically want to build yourself something called a steam dynamo. So we'll build one of those real quick. I am missing a tool. Oh, redstone transmission coil. See, and you also need lots of redstone. So, make sure you mine lots of redstone. I don't know what's wrong with this. When I like autocraft something using this menu, it like really screws it up. And like, why are these up here? That doesn't even make any sense. There we go. Like, I don't know. It's like it tries to sort here or something, and it like breaks the whole thing. So we're going to make it. What the heck? What am I missing? Oh, okay. Copper gears. Good news. My system should know how to make these for me. I want you to make 4 of them because we're going to make 2 of these, just cause. All right. I'll talk about applied energistics later because it's going to require basically thermal expansion to help you get started. So you're basically going to be crafting these by yourself, like inventory through chests. So I suggest keeping your inventory clear and free of clutter, so that you don't end up with a bunch of junk all over the place, because it will just ruin your day when you try to craft something and it doesn't want to come out. The next thing you want to build is a leadstone energy cell, but I'm going to cheat halfway here, I guess. Basically, you want to craft the leadstone energy cell, but I'm going to show you actually how to do that. So you have, it's just glass. It says stained glass and stuff. It's just normal glass. Lead ingots from any mod, doesn't really matter, and a block of redstone. So you do need a lot of redstone to get started. And you build the leadstone energy cell frame. Then to build the energy cell, you need some copper, and then you need conductance coils, which is electrum. I don't know if I actually have any conductance coils. So this, all right, we lucked out. So I mean that could have sucked for a little bit. And then the next thing you're going to need to actually create power is you're going to need some water buckets. I'm going to spam these in my inventory. And then I'm going to attempt something from blood magic, perhaps. And then that's about it. You're also going to want some coal, wood, charcoal, or basically anything that burns. Because, yeah, trust me, you're going to want it. So we'll head outside here to this little area because, it's a little messy in there, as you can see. So basically what you do is you set down these steam dynamos, and you notice, like, they're not doing anything. And what you want to do is find some way to power them. You can use leadstone energy cells, or I'll talk to you a little bit more about power transfer in a little bit. That's a little bit different than just placing them right next to each other. Now, if you notice, this top here is where the steam dynamo outputs power. So, obviously, this is kind of bad because it's not putting power into the energy cell. So what you do is you have to make a wrench. This is not the wrench you'll use if you don't have applied energistics. I just happened to make this one really early in the game because it was the only one I could afford. The one you're going to make is this, the crescent hammer, which is a tin ingot from any mod and then 3 iron. Sorry about that. It's not that expensive compared to the Certus quartz wrench. It's just that the Certus quartz, recipe here, is 5 Certus quartz, and early game it was cheaper to waste the Certus quartz on this wrench than it was any other. And luckily, all of the mod's wrenches all work together. Kind of silly if you ask me, but meh. So what you do is you're going to flick them around, just like right click. If you shift right click, you'll pick up items, and then when you place them, I believe they'll go back into the position you left them. I am not 100% certain on dynamos because I usually try not to screw with them too much. But yeah, so when you configure something in thermal expansion and then you shift right click it, like so, with your wrench, it will stay configured the way you left it. And to prove this, we will turn all of these to yellow. I believe, there we go. Yellow means that it's disabled and they cannot activate. I'll tell you in just a moment what that means, but when I pick it up, you'll notice that even in the little icon, they're all yellow. And then they're still that way when that happens. So we want to change everything back to blue, which kind of sucks because I have to like double click everything. All right. But anyway, so obviously we're going to talk a little about GUI. The GUI of the lead-acid energy cell is really simple. You're going to open it, it's going to look like this. Don't let the oddness of it confuse you if you've never used thermal expansion before. Basically what you want to do is nothing. You don't want to screw with it. But you want to make note that since this is the basic tier energy cell, which means it's the crappiest version of the energy cell you can possibly make, it can only input 200 RF per tick. Now that's not in total, it's 200 RF per tick per side, or quote unquote per connection. And I'll tell you what that means in a little bit. And it can only output 200 RF per tick per side as well. So you have to be careful, because if you power too many machines that take more than 200 RF per tick, the energy cell will only output 200 and the machine will start to basically run out of power. You can then configure redstone, like you can say like it's only going to output signals when I have a lever on it and it's saying whatever, or low. Now low is weird, like it'll run even if there's no signal, but this is basically saying when a redstone signal is off, not on. But you can use this to control redstone from a distance, because when redstone travels really far distances, low is technically like, I think it's below 7 or 8. When you, I don't know, like 7 or 8 power, I guess, for redstone. I'm not 100% sure. If you need to know more about redstone, I suggest looking someone else up for that, because I'm not very good with it. I can make things work, but I am no genius. This will give you a little information about how to use the, how to use it. Now, it's a little weird to close. You have to, like, click it out there. Unlike this one, which you click up here, you click the symbol to make it go away. This will also tell you how to use it. The tutorial tells you how to configure the system, but there's no need to worry about that. Now in here you can see how much it is stored, and I think it's 400,000. That's correct. And obviously Whale will tell us that it's 200 in, 200 out, currently harvestable, blah blah blah, all that stupid stuff. So now we move over to the Steam Dynamo, which is slightly more confusing. Don't worry about augments now, because that's something much for later. We have redstone. Obviously you want this on ignored, because you want them to run pretty much all the time, tell you how to use it, the information, and how much RF it's producing, what it can produce, and if it has any stored. Now, the energy storage on dynamos is kind of a lie, because when they store energy, they cannot output it unless they are creating energy, which doesn't really make any sense, but that's how it works. I don't know if that's like a flaw or something, but nonetheless, it behaves weird. So what you want to do is you can shove buckets into it, like so. You need to fill it with water. I believe the maximum it can hold is 4,000 millibuckets, which is 4 buckets. 1,000 millibuckets to 1 bucket. Very easy conversion. Now what I'm going to attempt here is, can I use the water sigil to fill it? You can, but it opens it. So if you have blood magic, you know what that is. You can use the water sigil to do that. Otherwise, we'll talk about blood magic in a later video. And it does fill it. It just behaves kind of wonky. Now if I shift right click, I can not fill it. Okay, it just bam, which is actually a really cool system to use the water sigil, because then you don't have to carry buckets around, even though you have to spam in and out of the UI, but very nifty. Next step is you have a choice. You basically can give it coal so that it can burn and generate steam, or you can put steam directly into it, in which case you didn't need to put the water in here. So if you have a better way to generate steam from another mod, like Railcraft or something, you can pump the steam directly into the dynamo. You have to do it from the back here. You cannot do it from the sides unless you have an augment in there that allows you to do that. So basically what we're going to do is, because remember, we're just starting out, we're just going to be making some power. You're going to be dropping some coal in there, and it'll immediately start making some steam. And the moment the steam hits 2,000 millibuckets, it starts producing power. Now for now, they're going to be producing 80 RF a tick. Now this is 160 RF per tick total, but not 160 RF per side, so it does not limit the input whatsoever, and we're generating 80 RF per tick. And it'll keep burning the coal to keep generating that steam so that it can keep producing power, but it will keep running out of water, and eventually it'll run out of water, or the coal, in this case, it'll run out of water way faster, and then, die. But the leadstone energy cell is being powered. So we now have power. So what do we do with the power? Is a really good question. So there's obviously some things that you've seen in here. You have your redstone furnace, you have your pulverizer, you have your sawmill, you have your induction smelter, you have your magma crucible, and you have your fluid transposer, glacial precipitator. Usually when you hold shift, it tells you exactly what it does, but there are some ways to do some things to make them a bit better. But I'm just going to be going over the basics, so I will not be covering things like the glacial precipitator or the igneous. Well, actually, I can show you the igneous extruder. I have one. It's basically simple. Sorry, I can't speak today. The cyclic assembler we won't talk about because that's like an auto crafting thing, and I don't use it, so I'm not 100% sure to use it, and I'd rather not, like screw up and actually tell you how to use it. The phytogenic insulator. Yeah, it's not really worth talking about. And then you have some weird blocks down here that don't really mean anything. So, basic tier, you have power. This will be the basic way you can produce power. Now, the next step to produce power is, I believe, the magmatic dynamo, which I can go and show you in my basement, because I actually use these to create power myself. Because even at these later tiers, I can make them useful. As you can see here, I have a lot of magmatic dynamos. And this is for a different reason than you think. So a magmatic dynamo is you put lava in it and it creates power. Simple as that. But I have augments in here that actually make them way better. So we can talk about the augments for the dynamos. The augments for the dynamos are basically why you want to build the production power from thermal expansion. These make them really worth it. The augment is called, the first one is called secondary transmission coil. They all have weird names. So basically when you type in augment, make sure you're looking at the right one. So press shift and make sure it's doing what you want it to do before you craft it. Because as you see down here, there is a lot and they do weird stuff. So this one makes you produce 2 times energy. 2 times fuel is consumed though, which means minus 15 base percent fuel energy. So that means we're getting 2 times, but we're also losing 15% of what it was worth before. So that means we're consuming more fuel, basically. And then we have the next one. This is called the tier 2 one. It's level 2. It makes it times 4. And then the final one is tier 3, level 3, makes it times 8. So basically, I can produce 640 RF per tick total with lava or steam, because the steam dynamo or the other dynamos, I believe they all produce the same amount of energy. It's just how they're producing it. So these augments are weird because you start with 3 augment slots. So all you have to do is craft the augments, right? So here they are right here, these 3 right here in NEI. They're a little weird. You can get them confused with these guys pretty easily, so remember it's the red ones. They're simply crafted. The first one is easily crafted with copper, redstone transmission coil, and redstone. So you'll get the first one pretty much straight up, and this will give you 160 RF per tick per thing. So we'll actually go show you with the steam dynamos. I will also get myself a much bigger energy cell. I believe my resonance are full though, sadly. So we'll just make another redstone energy cell because it's not that big of a deal. So we'll start. It should take us less than a second to make that. There we go. And then bam, pop out another one. Alright. So, actually, let's make ourselves the augment so I can show you pretty much how they work, because sadly I'm out of lava as of the moment. So, we can actually craft this one. Should be able to. We'll craft just one. And then we'll craft, see here, the tier 2 one is a bit more expensive. This one's going to require copper, silver, and glowstone, still with the same transmission coil though. It's a bit more expensive. It appears I'm out of glowstone dust, which is wrong. Believe it or not, I actually can, there's not a lot you can't do with applied energistics. So when I get around to showing you that, you'll see amazingness with that. So that's now the tier 2. So we now have 4 times the energy produced. Now the final one, the cryocoil flux amplifier. This one is really expensive. It requires 4 silver ingots, redstone transmission coil, and cryothium. Cryothium is crafted through blizz powder, redstone snowballs, and saltpeter or niter, which you get from the saltpeter ore from Thermal Foundation or Railcraft, I believe it was. It is Railcraft. Now to get blizz powder is hard. You either have to fight blizzes, which are only spawn in snow biomes, mind you, or we can use something, the fluid transposer, and we can melt redstone in the magma crucible. Every redstone is worth 100 millibuckets of destabilized redstone, so almost everything in the game can be converted to a liquid. And then we can infuse 200 of it into a snowball to make blizz powder. But now remember, to make cryothium, we still need snowballs, so don't go around wasting all of your snowballs. So, we are out of transmission coils. Can I craft those automatically? I cannot, so I have to do it by hand, which is not horrible. So we'll craft a bunch of those, dump them in there, and then craft another one. Bam. So we now have those, and we'll sleep one more time, because nighttime is really annoying. I don't understand. It's like Minecraft days are like majority night. Like more than 12 minutes of the 20-minute Minecraft day is night. It's weird. So, as you can see here, they're actually still producing energy, which you're probably just like, why are they producing energy when it has nowhere to go? And it's kind of a weird question because I don't know the answer to that myself, because I don't know why they keep producing energy even though there's nothing there. They are producing 8 RF per tick. Even though they're not losing it, technically, they're still producing it, which means they will be wasting your steam and they will be wasting coal while they're here. It just so happens that they're out of water, so they can't do anything currently. So let's give them some water so that we can keep this going. Okay. So we have one energy cell filled. Now say we wanted to fill a second one. We didn't want to move the first. We wanted to move the first one. So we set it down and it'll immediately start sucking up the energy, right? Yep, skip that back. So, right here. But we've now made these awesome augments. So we have this guy producing almost 80 RF per tick. It takes a while for them to rev up to their max potential. We will now dump in the augments, just all of them at once. And you'll notice that it's producing a lot more RF per tick. It can produce up to 640 RF per tick. But you'll notice that the power output is nowhere near that. And you're probably like, why? That's because of this. It cannot accept more than 200 RF per tick, so it can't actually do it. So here it is producing 200, which is the maximum it can output. You'll notice that this is actually sitting some weird number down. I don't know what that is. It seems to be a thing about RF. It just likes to do that. So just ignore it if it sits there like that, and you'll notice that this filled up quite quickly because of this. So obviously putting this one in there is kind of a waste. Putting this one in there is kind of a waste. You pretty much, for the basic one, only want to put in the first augment. But if I were to say throw in this augment and this augment, you'll notice that nothing changed. And you're just like, what the heck, man? I just made these really expensive augments and they're not doing anything. That's because they require the previous one to exist in the machine beforehand. So you'll notice that the maximum power this can output is 640. I take these out, it's only 160. I put in the big one, doesn't change. Put in the middle one, goes all the way up to 640. If I take the little one out, it goes back down to 80. So, yeah, you have this really, I guess, tax-based system so that you have to level up your machines very incrementally, which is technically a good thing. It'll keep you from getting wrecked because you can accidentally make a lot of mistakes with thermal foundation. And this would be one of them because you're going to eat through things like coal and water like no tomorrow. So you have to be very careful when doing things like that. So the next step basically is your pulverizer. This is basically the first machine you're going to build. It is this machine right here, but it wouldn't be resonant. So we're going to ignore the augments that are in here because all these do is make it faster and make it cost more energy. So don't worry about that. It does not cost 800 RF per tick to actually run the machine. I believe it's only like 80. We can actually check this. It is 40. Remember that. It is 40. It only costs you 40 RF per tick to power the basic pulverizer. If you want to craft the basic pulverizer, you only make yourself a machine frame basic, which is this. It's just a tin gear, which is tin around iron. I prefer the gears from Thermal Foundation. If you have a choice to use gears in any machine mod, use the Thermal Foundation ones. They're just easier than the Buildcraft ones. Sorry that that shape like attracted me. I was just like, what is that? So you build it. It's just glass, iron, and tin gears, and it's glass of any kind. It's like spamming through them all, and you just make yourself a machine frame basic. Now, what does that have to do with the machine? When you go to make the pulverizer, you'll notice that the NEI says that it's resonant, quote unquote, you will not be crafting the resonant one until much later. So to do that, you place any machine frame you want in here: a piston, flint, copper gears, and a redstone reception coil, which in this case is the gold one, which is technically the cheap one. And you'll kind of understand why. If you play Thermal Foundation, it's pretty much the most inexpensive one you can make. So with this, you can make yourself the pulverizer, and it's going to start out basic, which means it only gets the 3 augments that come with the machine themselves. And that's the integrated servo mechanism, which allows for automatic transfer out of the device, your redstone so that you can control it with redstone if you wanted to, and I believe integrated modular framework, which allows for them to do this, the weird coloring side thing. Now, this machine isn't using automation all too well. I will show you automation in a little bit. Thermal Foundation doesn't really allow for a lot of automation on its own. It requires other mods to do a lot of automation for it, but there is some automation in the mod itself that can be very helpful. So obviously you just dump your ores in here and it doubles them. So what it does is, we actually have to go back to Thermal Foundation for this, believe it or not. If I can spell, I did spell. Okay, mouse please. So basically say you have a ton of tin ore, you have 64 tin ore. If you go to recipes, you'll notice that this is how you craft it. It's really weird, so just ignore those. If you press U, you'll get uses from NEI. Remember this is actually the one you want. If you know anything about the grindstone from Applied Energistics, that's how that happens. But anyway, if you put this into a, pulverizer, you'll notice that any tin will give you 2 pulverized tin and a 10% chance to get pulverized iron. Just ignore the 10% chance here, because it doesn't really matter. That's not what you got the ore for. I mean, really? So you get 2 pulverized tin. With 2 pulverized tin, you can then smelt this. If I press U on it, you can then smelt them into the tin ingot. This allows you to double all of your ores really early for a pretty cheap price of 40 RF per tick. And if you notice, your steam dynamos do 80 on their own. And if you build the first augment, you do 160. You could power 4 pulverizers running at once with just 1 steam dynamo, which is pretty cool. But now remember, just don't let the steam dynamo run out of water or coal, or else you're screwed. But that's the basic pulverizer. So if you want, I can show you the colors here. Blue is input. Blue will always be this. All the colors are already pre-assigned to where they go in here. So if I put something in here like the bucket, it's not going to do anything because it can't pulverize buckets. Can it pulverize a golden apple? No. Okay. What the heck? My inventory is being rearranged. So what you do is you drop your ores in here, like your copper, even vanilla ores like iron, and if you can somehow obtain them, redstone and diamond ore, like if you have soak touch, you can drop them in here and they'll double them as well. I think redstone gives you like 21 redstone if you pulverize it versus breaking it with your pick. If you do diamonds, I know it's 2. So you can get 2 diamonds per ore instead of 1. But, I mean, if you have fortune, it's probably better to just fortune them because you have a chance of getting like 8 at a time. So, yeah, way better. But those are the things that do the inputs, right? Now, you'll notice the other colors flashed. So if we click a side, we can say red. Red is this. It'll output to that side. Now, in this case, it'll be outputting to the right of the machine. So whatever front you're looking at here, that is the quote-unquote front of the machine. This is the top. This is the left, this is the right, and this is the underside. This is the back of the machine. It's kind of hard to tell, but once you get used to this, you'll remember it very easily. Now, this is yellow. Yellow is for the secondary slot. This will mean the secondary slot will output to that side. If there is a machine that can accept those kind of outputs, like, for instance, you could have, let's flip this back to red. Say we're just pulverizing a lot of tin. We put a hopper on top, put the hopper up here, put a chest up here, and we dump all of our iron ore in there. All the iron comes in here and gets pulverized, but except you don't want to be sitting here manually taking it out and feeding your furnace. So say you have the redstone furnace, which is this guy over here, which, that's the pulverizer, sorry. The redstone furnace is this guy here. Basically, it's the same as the furnace. You just dump, and you're dumping the ores in here, and you're just like, oh, this sucks. You can come over and pretend this is the furnace. You can place it right next to it. Tell this to input on the left, and tell this to output on the right, and when anything goes into here and comes into here because it's been pulverized, will immediately go into the furnace and be smelted, which is very, very handy, but can also be a really bad thing because that'll overclog obviously your furnace quote unquote, the furnace really quickly because it can only hold a stack of 64 of most items. So you have to be careful with what you're doing. But with that, comes really great abilities here. And then the final color is orange. Orange is both the output and the secondary outputs. For any machines that have more than one output, orange will always be available. You can do both orange and red, so that means you can output reds to one side predominantly, but if, say, this side were to get filled up, it'll filter out the other way as well. So orange will output both, which can be handy when you're doing things like automation. Like, really handy. Alright, so we'll talk about this machine here. This is called the energetic infuser. It's how you charge machines. Believe it or not, the fact that it's resonant means nothing. There is no way to speed up the energetic infuser except by powering it with more energy. I'm currently powering it with like 2.14 trillion energy per tick, so it's really fast, but if you notice, maximum power is only 8,000, so it can only charge items like my jetpack or my armor by 8,000 RF a tick, or as fast as the item itself will allow it to charge, which is why the energetic infuser and the energy infusers from any mod kind of suck, because the items only allow them to be charged so fast, so it kind of sucks that way. So I'm going to show you a little bit of automation. Just ignore the applied energistic stuff if you don't understand. I'll probably be doing that in another video, but I'm going to have to be wrapping up the first part of God tier thermal expansion, because we're running a bit long here, but I just want to show you a little bit of automation so you can see something that's happening. So this is basically something that you'd be doing really early game. Say you're making that cryothium dust because you want to make those max tier things. So you need the magma crucible, you need the fluid transposer to be making that pulse powder. But you're really, really tired of you having to feed it. So what you do is to automate this, the magma crucible. Now, mine requires 8,000 RF per tick. Yours will not. Yours is going to require something along the lines of 400. Yeah, the magma crucible is really expensive to power, and it's a little expensive to build, even. So, I believe the magma crucible requires nether brick, which means you have to go to the nether to build it. Sorry, I just passed it. There it is. Yeah, nether brick. Nether brick. Now, it requires a glowstone energy cell, and it requires Invar gears. Invar gears is the same thing. Invar around the iron. Now, Invar is a little weird. Invar is a thing that you build either through the alloy smelter or Invar blend. But Invar blend is made with 2 pulverized iron and 1 pulverized ferrous. Ferrous is another ore added by thermal expansion. So what you do is you pulverize them. You don't want to smelt them right away. You actually want to combine 2 iron powder. Now, I have Ender IO, so Ender IO powder is the same as pulverized. It means the same thing. So the pulverized ferrous metal with those 2 then equals 3 Invar blend, which means it is a literal 1-to-1 ratio. Every powder you put in, you get back out. You'll then smelt the Invar blend for 1 ingot apiece, so that'll give you 3 Invar per 3 powder, you know what I mean? So pretty worth. So you then smelt that and you get Invar, and you can make the Invar gears to make these and the magmatic dynamos. I'm sorry, I forgot to show you the recipe for that. It requires Invar. You need some Invar. Their transmission coil is the same, but everything else is Invar. So you have on top here, you have your hopper, you have your chest, or in this case, you have an applied energistic system set to dump stuff into it, and you're just dumping redstone into here like no tomorrow. So it's going in, it's being liquefied, and then you notice that this is orange, not blue, and you're probably like, what's up? Because this is a machine that makes liquids. It doesn't actually put them into itself, quote unquote, because it melts stuff and then holds it in a tank. But then it can export. So I have it going in and then going out to the right. To the right is my fluid transposer, which has an input to the left and an input to the top. Now this is where things get kind of a little bit weird. Like, if you're not prepared for this to be a thing, you have to really understand it, because you have to get used to it, or you're going to be wasting a lot of time and a lot of space trying to automate things that you didn't have to do. For instance, you'll notice I have 2 blue sides, and this are lit up, and you'd be like, holy crap, all my liquid's going to go into here, and it's going to screw up the whole machine. Trust me, it won't. The fluid transposer is a very intelligent machine. When you put in a liquid to any of the sides, it will immediately go into the tank, and it will not screw itself up. And that's because fluids can't go there. It's the way Minecraft works. It just doesn't work that way. So trust me, you're not going to destroy machines. So your redstone's going into here, and then coming out the top of a hopper and a chest or whatever is coming out your snowballs, and they're going in here, and they're just at 800 RF per tick because mine's stupid. It's just going in there, and they're being pumped out like no tomorrow. And then you have your red side coming out to the right, and then you have an import here. Now I have an import here. In this case, I don't know if you can output directly to a chest. You might have to put it out to the bottom of a hopper and then a chest. Might. I'm not 100% sure. We can actually test this. We can test this. Just break that. We can get a chest real quick. Not craft chest. Yes, please. Start. Thank you. Oops. Alright. And the reason I need to test this real quick is because this might actually have made my life a lot easier if I knew it. Alright. The energetic infuser is another machine that can actually do this weird outputting stuff. So we'll output to the right. We will then drop our boots and then dump our boots into it. Off they go, and bam, that actually does. It outputs directly to a chest. So there you guys go. You can output literally to a chest that is right next to the machine. I'm going to turn this off because I don't want that kind of functionality for that machine in particular, but you can do it for any machine. So you have this, and it's outputting, and then you can literally output to the right. Instead of my import bus, you would output directly to a chest here, and there you go. You can pretty much automate whatever you want. Now this automation I have is for auto crafting, stuff like this. Stuff comes into here, it melts, and then the stuff gets put in here and gets put back and it gets sucked into the system. So I can auto craft stuff. I will show you that because that is actually really convoluted and hard to understand. Even for me, it took me a little bit to make that. But here's another block that is actually really important, very useless to you early game. The igneous extruder. Basically what you do is you feed it lava, you feed it water, and off it goes. In my case, I can't feed it lava, so I have to watch what I'm doing. I have augments in here, which are particular for the igneous extruder themselves, and those allow it to make bigger stacks. I believe without the augments, it only produces like 8 at a time for cobblestone. It produces literally 1 at a time, which obviously is bad. In my case, it produces 32 cobblestone per lava per thing. Now, for producing cobblestone, because you know how cobblestone is produced, it does not take lava and it does not take water from you. Stone. If you want to make smooth stone, you have to click it before it actually starts. Nonetheless, it'll actually take water from you, because you know what happens if you place lava on top and let it drip down onto water, it turns into smooth stone, right? Now, obsidian, it will consume your lava and your water. As far as I know, it consumes both. So obviously, you want to be careful with what you're doing. I'm going to turn my machine off because I don't want it to keep doing, making stuff, because it'll clog my system with stuff. So you basically have infinite cobblestone gen if you want to produce it this way. This way is a bit easier for automating than using other methods, especially if you don't want to have to do it by hand. So you could literally just leave this on, and when this fills up to 64, it'll stop if it can't output anywhere. So you can just leave 64 cobblestone, say for building purposes, in the igneous extruder at all times, and just walk around. So it can help you out a little bit there. I believe this is a redstone furnace as well. It goes in and outputs. It outputs to the back, but in this case it's being powered from there because it can't do anything. It's kind of useless. So you basically have the fundamentals of the machines from thermal expansion. They're pretty easy. They're not too hard, but this is basically how you get started. I'll show you some more advanced machines and stuff, and ways to upgrade them and make the next tier of stuff. But once I show you how to do that, which I'll show you next episode, because this is probably like 40 minutes by now. I don't want to cloud you with too much information, so I'll leave that there. I will not go over these florbs, by the way, because I don't use them, because they carry liquids, but they're completely useless in theory, especially to someone like me who isn't doing that kind of stuff. But I will cover the basics of the machines to get you to basically where I have gotten myself now. So there are some things that I will miss, and there are some things that I won't cover. Like, for instance, I will not cover the Fluivac, nor the Flux Transfuser, really. The satchels, you craft them, they're backpacks, simple as that. But I won't cover things like the portable tank all too much. I'll just show you how to craft it next episode and stuff, and then that's about it. And that's because I don't use them too often, because I'm busy doing other things, to raise yourself to God tier. But I'm hoping that you'll be able, through this series, to be able to get the firm grasp on certain mods. And for users that already know how to use the mods, in later videos, so obviously don't watch this one, Um, I probably should put that in the front, but oh well, they'll figure it out. You can skip to later videos, and I can show you some more advanced methods of using certain mods to do really big things. Usually they'll be the machine mods because these are the things I've been very good with and I've learned them. So like applied energistics here, you got thermodynamics, you got draconic evolution, which is a really big mod. And then I'll show you some of the nifty tools that can help you out while you're trying to get yourself to God tier. So I hope that this has been a little informational for you. And yeah, I guess that'll be all for today. So I guess I'll see you guys later.